my name is Tanya Avrith. I'm here today with the EdTech team, and I'm really excited to be here in Toronto. So I'm from Montreal. Okay, I was waiting for the response there. I wasn't sure. Okay, so I'm your friendly neighbor to the east, and I am a teacher. Woohoo! But I was a high school teacher. Now I work for the Lester B. Pearson School Board, which is the largest English-speaking school board in the province of Quebec. And I do like the same job as Scott and Jim. So there's two of us. For our board, we have 32,000 students, so we're not as big as you guys, but we're a pretty fairly large board. And I'm very fortunate to have had some great opportunities in the last year. I got to go to the Apple Distinguished Educator Institute in Austin, Texas. And last year I got to go to Google headquarters in New York to be a Google certified teacher. So I've had quite of an interesting year. And I even got to go to Facebook, which was really cool, to talk about digital citizenship education. So I'll tell you a little bit about what we do and who we are. I'll talk about it. So let me get started. You can find my session here. So if you want to log in, if not, all of our resources are going to be available on the site. They're also available on the EdTech team site, and I have detailed sort of lesson plan almost. So if you wanted to bring this back to your school or adapt it, copy it, use it, you're more than welcome to. That's what we do. So feel free. And if you go onto the EdTech team site and you look under the resources for today, we'll link all of the sort of lesson plans and links that I talk about there. So another place, just so you know, a lot of the things I talk about are in this post. And you can Google it. I co-authored it with my girl, Holly Clark. And it's an edudemic article called How to Tackle Digital Citizenship During the First 5 Days of School. So you can read more. And again, like I said, I'll link all of the resources. All right, so before we get started, I want you to Google yourselves. Let's do it. So it helps when you put it in quotation marks, sometimes. So you all have a task. All right, who wants to share? What are you finding? Is it you? Some of you? Raise your hand if it's you. Okay, good things? No mugshots? That's what you don't want happening, right? When it's your name and there's a mugshot next to it, never a good sign. Anything? Does anyone not finding anything? Okay, so you're generally finding something, right? Hopefully not bad things, right? Is it you? No, it's not you. Does this other person have interesting things attached to their name at least? Okay, that's good. If you want to be mistaken for someone, let it be someone with good things. So we're going to talk a little bit about this in a moment, but I wanted you to just sort of get a taste for what's available.
Everybody, enough with the electronic devices. Turn them off. And no more of this Star Trek crap.
Sure, that's my hearing aid.
This is an actual hearing aid? I thought you were ignoring me this whole time.
What?
Sorry. Okay, everybody else, enough with the gadgets. Put them away.
But we need them.
Abraham Lincoln went through his whole presidency without a beeper.
What's a beeper?
Never mind. Okay, I am now banning all electronic devices, including laptops.
But we use them in all of our other classes. It's how we take notes.
Okay, hey, here's a wacky idea. You want to take notes? Use a notebook.
But you said no laptops.
That's correct.
A notebook is a laptop.
Shut up. See what's happening, people? The machines are getting smarter and we're getting dumber. Do you think any of these devices are going to tell you when Custer's last stand was?
1876.
So this is very much these are our students, right? We're telling them to put these devices away. These are the very devices that they're learning with, and a big part of what we're going to be talking about today is appropriate use, digital citizenship. So first off, I always start my presentations by telling my participants that they need to put away their pencils and put away their books, and not for the reasons that you're thinking. I'll tell you why. Those pencils, they're dangerous, okay? I don't know about you, but the last time I checked, I don't let my 2-year-old son run around with a pencil. He will stick it in someone's eye. He wants to put it in my daughter's side, okay? He doesn't know how to use it. That pencil is a dangerous tool. And those books, my goodness, if we take those books, you can really hit someone hard over the head with that one, okay? So it's a tool. It's a tool. Those are tools, those devices that we often tell our students to put away, put aside, put on your desk, put in your pocket, leave in your locker. Those are tools, okay? The thing is, we're not teaching them how to use it appropriately. So we're fearful of it, and we tell them, put it away. I want to just put a little bit of a time stamp on where we have come, okay? And I know it's kind of a gruesome image, but everybody in my mind kind of remembers where they were on that day. Okay, so how did you find out about the events on 9/11? Yes?
My great parents were Googling.
They were Googling it.
It may have been web crawlers, whatever they were doing, but yeah, we were in a compact class, and it's now I remember what
So that was pretty progressive. Yeah.
I was home on maternity leave and I was watching TV.
Okay, so you were watching TV, yes.
You listening to the radio.
To the radio, yes.
I was at school and another teacher who was part-time arrived and asked, have you listened to the radio at all today? I just need to let you know, filling us in, none of us had any idea. She heard it in the car on the way over. Yeah.
So she heard it on the radio, yes.
I was in grade 10 Spanish class, and the teachers pulled in the televisions and we were watching it in class.
So on television, yes.
It was my first day of teaching as an unqualified French teacher.
And you, yeah.
I was pregnant having Braxton Gibbs contraction.
So it's funny, right? Because we all remember where we were and how we heard about it. It's one of those moments in time that kind of time stopped and you just remember. And not that I'd ever want this to happen, but God forbid a million times something like that happened today. How would you have heard about it? Twitter, Facebook. Okay, so does this put it in context a little how far we've come in the last 12 years? Okay, there was no Facebook, there was no Twitter, there was no YouTube, or maybe it just, no. Okay, that was 12 years ago. That happened fast, okay? The shift that we have seen in the last 12 years has been the fastest shift in technology that we've ever seen, ever. And here's the reality. Our schools, our teachers, our parents didn't grow up with the technology. We didn't. I'm just at the beginnings of it. So I'm 31. I had a computer growing up. I had a 56K modem in my house. I played Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego represent? Yeah. Where in the world is? Yeah, that's right. So we're dating ourselves, right? I watched Ghost Rider. I watched, you know, this is my era. And I remember watching Ghost Rider and there was a hacker on the show and I was like, hacker, cool. Okay, she hacked into computers and she was a lady and I was like, oh yeah. So that's sort of my reference and my cultural references, but I'm just at the very beginning of it. And so when I work with teachers and I work with students and I work with parents, they're fearful because they didn't grow up with it. It's not something they understand. So of course we're fearful of things that we're not understanding. So I'm going to give you my digital citizenship story. See this handsome fellow right over here? Can you see it? It's hard to see. It's taken in 1958. I took a picture of a picture. That's my dad in school. I have a question. Have the classes changed that much? That's why I took the picture. I was like, oh my God, this looks so similar to the classes I work in today. This was 1958. So that's my dad. I want to show you this video. I'm hoping you can hear it. It's so worth seeing. Ah, don't do that. Can you hear?
We've been learning about flies like what butterflies. We read books.
Bye bye butterfly, she whispered.
We sang songs. We drew pictures.
And now we have saved your picture.
We saw a real live chrysalis. We did some research in our garden. Taking pictures and videos of their habitat. We really learned a lot. Take a look. Did you know that there's over 300 different types of butterflies? Did you know butterflies get nectar from the flowers? Did you know that butterflies eat until they're full, then they go into chrysalis? We learned so much we wanted to share it with others. So we didn't know how, so we asked our friends. Take a picture of it and show it to somebody. We could use our soaps to tell it. We could put it on YouTube. We could put it on the internet. We could take pictures. We could put it on TV. We could make a book of it and sell it. But then they came up with the perfect idea. We could make a video on our iPads. But we didn't know how, did you? No. Let's ask the teacher. Okay.
Goes right to where you edited it, doesn't it?
Yeah. We asked the teacher, and she said we could learn how to do iMovie.
Okay, well let's add one of these butterfly pictures. Where is it gonna go in our movie?
These are the pictures that we drew. And the pictures we took in the garden. We even added our voices on top of everything.
This is a picture of Foster talking about the chrysalis.
When we were done, we watched our movie on the iPad. And then we did it on the big screen.
Alright, do you guys wanna watch it?
Yeah!
Do you guys wanna watch our movie on the active board?
Yeah! I wonder what we're gonna do tomorrow.
So my daughter's in kindergarten this year, and she doesn't actually probably know her life without her iPad or my phone, and so these are the students that are coming up. These are students that are not going to ever have a world without the technology, right? And so we need to figure out how we can move forward with the technology. So this doesn't work. The banning of it in our classes, or the banning of the social media, the banning of what we're using is not working. I talk a lot about the importance of digital literacies. And so in the past, when we spoke about literacy, we spoke about students who could read, students who couldn't read, who could write, who couldn't write. I strongly believe that the literacies of the future are going to be those who know how to harness the power of social media and build networks, and those who cannot. That is a huge aspect of their lives, being able to know how to network with their peers, how to crowdsource for information, how to access information. That is where they're going to be. That's what we need to be teaching them. That is essential for them to learn how to do. So how do we ban it when that is the tool that they need to learn most? So I'll tell you a little bit about my story. 4 years ago, when I started working at my job, on my very first day, my boss dumped a book on my desk. It was my very first day. I still didn't have a computer or a chair. And he said to me, we're going to do something with this. The book at the time was Ribble and Bailey's Digital Citizenship in Schools. I don't know if any of you have seen it. It's an excellent resource. And Ribble and Bailey spoke about having 9 elements of digital citizenship and what it meant to be a digital citizen. And he said to me, we're going to do something with this. And we figured out why. We have a justification for why this was important. So I work at a school board, and he said, the only way that we're going to ever be able to move forward with the technology is if we teach our students and our parents and our teachers and the community at large how to use it appropriately, how to move forward with it. And in order to do that, we had to lay the groundwork. So I talk about the WWW. This is the Wild Wild West analogy. And so we came up with this analogy to sort of explain why teaching digital citizenship at the coming from above, like coming from schools, why this is so important. Here's our students. Our students are living in the Wild Wild West, or the World Wide Web, okay? They're cowboys. They have no rules. They have no one on there showing them the way, okay? They're home, they're doing things, they're getting into trouble, you know, and here we are not using it in the schools. We're not teaching them how to use it. How are they supposed to know how to use it appropriately if they're not actually using it in their classes? How? Who is showing them? Their parents? No, not necessarily. Their parents are not always aware of what's going on. So whose responsibility then is it to teach them how to be citizens? Because they don't see a difference between their digital lives and their day-to-day lives. As an older generation, we kind of see a difference, but that's their life. There's no difference. So we said I'll talk questions in a moment. So we said, well, we need to have a structure to put in place so that we could teach them how to be digital citizens. And we said, well, what is that going to look like? And I'll share what it looked like to us. Once we put that structure in place, we said, you know what, now our cowboys can be law-abiding citizens. They can understand how to interact with the technology. They could use it in a positive way in their classes and without being fearful of what we post online or what they're going to do or what the Patriot Act is going to do. So that was a big part of why we decided we needed to have a program. You had a comment?
Yeah, I find there is a huge disconnect. I had exactly within my mind. I don't know if every other teacher is actually experiencing that. Like, it's great looking at it on a movie, how awesome it is. But as a teacher, you can't even take a picture of the kid. You've got all these guidelines and rules. More or less, and publish it online. So if digital on movies and pictures on the screen, but as a teacher, how do we actually do it?
We're gonna talk about that. We're gonna talk, and a lot of it stems from education, educating our community, and I'll talk a bit about what we've been doing. So, have you seen this? The Amazing Mind Reader reveals his tricks. This is one of my favorites.
Insecten. Dat blieft? Ik voel 2 insecten op je rug. Kan dat?
Ja, vlinders.
Slovenie?
Nee.
Een moto. Oranje. Pas erop. Zenit. Oui, bien. Je hebt een vriendin. Julie de... Ja. Een boeiend liefdesleven. 3, 4 zelfs.
De 4e, daar zwijg ik meestal over, dus dat weten niet veel mensen.
Spierscheur. Maison rouge, balcon blanc. Ja. Ik zie geld, ik zie transacties, maar kent je rekeningnummer van buiten? Ik denk dat ik het wel weet. Die staat wel negatief op je bankrekening.
Yeah?
9-7. Last month, you spent €200 on alcohol. Vorige maand €300 aan kleding gespendeerd. 8.
Ja.
5. Voor een huis dat van eigenaar gaat veranderen. €795.000. Ja, eigenlijk. 41.
Ja.
Is dat juist?
Ja, dat is juist. Oh my god. Oh man. Dat is heel eng.
Okay, so I don't show you this to freak you out that you don't put things on the computer. Let me just get that out there, okay? Because that's actually the opposite of what I do, okay? And so when I show this, people are like, why would you show that? You want people to put things online. And I'm like, absolutely, I want people to put things online. But in order to get to the point where we're saying to our kids, let's post things online, we have to teach them what's appropriate to post online, okay? And once we're able to do that, then we can move past the fears. So in a moment, I'll talk a little bit about some of my experiences with working with schools last year and some of the ideas that students, or some of the misconceptions that we have about what students think. But before I do, I want to just point this out. This is the digital citizenship program that I helped spearhead and write. And it's essentially a curriculum that looks at what does digital citizenship education look like. And so we referenced Common Sense Media when developing our own curriculum. But for us, it was big. And it was a little overwhelming for our teachers. So what we did is we created a document that has 16 teachable topics, basically sort of looking at a progression of what students from kindergarten through, well, for you guys would be 12th grade, what it would look like over those topics. So it starts with, for example, privacy. Well, when we talk about privacy, what are some of the things that we should be teaching? We talk about digital literacies, health and wellness. So I'm not going to get into it. Usually if we were a smaller group, I'd actually do an activity with you guys. This is not the environment to do it. But you will be able to check out our program and our curriculum. And in 3 weeks, we're launching our new site, which is really cool. So I hope that you'll look back and check out our curriculum. Because for you, it's a practical resource that you can print out and say, what does digital citizenship education look in my class? What do I need to teach my grade 7 students about this topic? And it gives you sort of a progression of where they should be at. So it's supposed to sort of help teachers and understand what they need to know. So the document wasn't for the students, the document was created for our teachers. And it's free to use and share and modify, so feel free if you wanted to use it for your school, for your class, for your district, to take it and modify it and do as you please. Okay, so it's a resource that I hope that you will see. And so Google Digital Citizenship Program LBPSB, and you'll find the website.
I'll put the link in it.
Yeah, and we'll, this is hyperlinked to the site. So if you have my slides, you have the site. I'll put it at the end again, yeah, absolutely. So this is a resource, and as I said, the website in 3 weeks is launching. It's a crazy awesome site. We got a grant from the government to up our site, and so I hope you'll come back for the launch of the site. So I always want to leave you with one tip, a big one. When I go into school, so I work in schools, I help set up initiatives. So when, like right now, we're rolling out some Chromebooks in for entire grade levels in 3 of my schools, 2 high schools and 1 of my elementary schools. And so we're rolling out about 200 one-to-one devices with our 7th graders and in the elementary grades 5 and 6. And so every time I roll out an initiative, the very first thing I do with all of my students is I go into the school with the teachers, and what we do is we create the acceptable use guide, I like to call them guidelines, together. The kids create them. It's not a document that we have a blank document that we share with schools at the district level. We don't have that. So when schools call me, I say, and I give them the questions, the lesson plan, that I say that you're going to do with your class at the very beginning of the year. And this doesn't have to be with a one-to-one situation. This could be, we're going to be using BYOD in our school this year, in our class, and we're piloting it, because I'm going to let you take those devices and we're going to try it out. But here's the thing. As a class, and you could do this with elementary school students, you could do this, you should be doing this 100% with your classes. If you're going to be bringing in the technology, you have them create the guidelines, them. When you have the students create the guidelines, they will own those guidelines. They will be their guidelines, okay? They can't say to you after, well, I didn't know, and you're going to say, what a second, we spent 2 classes on that. This is something that you've come up with. So we do this every year. So it doesn't matter if we did it last year, the beginning of the school year, it usually takes me about 2 periods, 2 50-minute periods, and I do it with every group. And then what we do is we meet together as a group of teachers after, and we pull out the points that the kids are coming up with themselves. We, in our minds, I'll tell you a secret, already know where we're heading with it, but we want it to come from the kids. And we do it every single year. And this is not a concept that I made up. This was, I took this from Levingston, I think, and he wrote the book From Fear to Facebook. And it was his personal journey, starting a one-to-one years ago in the Silicon Valley, and all of the pitfalls that he faced. And he said that he had student uprising. These were Silicon Valley kids that these kids are very special kids out there who had an uprising, and they protested the acceptable use policy. And he learned the hard way that the best way to have student buy-in was to have it come from them. And so I learned from him, and we do that every year, and it's been tremendous. All of my schools do that every single year. And if it's a grade level, we'll choose English or social studies. We choose 1 or 2 classes in different groups, and they'll go in and they'll do that. So it's been one of the best tips I can give you. The other thing that we do is community outreach. We spend lots of time going out into the community. I give many parent workshops because you can't expect it to just happen in the school. Like you said, the parents have to have buy-in. If they're not signing those release forms, then you're not going anywhere with the technology either. And they have to understand why that's important to you. Why do you need to have the release form signed? Why is it important to have your students' pictures on the computer? Why, in this day and age, is that important? And so that's a big thing. We do a lot of community outreach. On November 6th at 7 p.m., you can actually come and watch. It's going to be live streamed, and you can send parents to it. It's going to be an interactive webinar that's going to be live streamed on the Lester B. I should have put the site, shouldn't I have? I'll put it back on my slides. It's the Lester B. Pearson School Board website. If you just Google it, that's where you'll find it. And it'll be live streamed. And I'm doing it with Dr. Alyssa Sklar, whose specialty is talking about risky behaviors. And so we're going to be doing a 1.5 hour session, a webinar, an interactive session. So it's a town hall. Parents can come or watch it online. And we've promoted it like crazy at our board, and it's gone out to all of our parents. And the idea is that we know that this is an ongoing discussion, and we try to do a lot of outreach with our parents. So social media can be awesome, and we know that. Okay, we're here today on our Saturday, okay, which is our sacred day off, because we are the converted. Let's be real, okay? You come here and you know that I'm preaching to the choir. So I get that. But a lot of people don't know that. And so they see a lot of this. Okay, so I think we get the point. So we get the point. So we see a lot of the negative things. As teachers or administrators, if I'm not mistaken, we see a lot of the negative things. Am I right? Some principals in the house? Yeah. And so they come to you. They come to your desk, and you have to deal with them. This is an example of one that I almost threw up when I heard about, of 4th grade students doing Instagram beauty pageants. I literally almost barfed. I was like, oh my God, I am sick to my stomach. So these are some of the things that we hear about, and they're so negative. They're so negative, and then so of course parents are going to say, I don't want that in my school. I don't want them on there. Look what they're doing. Well, hold on a second. What if we were using Instagram in class and we were taking, you know, images of the student learning and having it on a feed that feeds to a class blog using if this then that, and so that we could track all of the things that are going on in the class instantaneously, so that the parents, when they go home, they can actually have a snapshot of my class. Now that's positive, isn't it? So we have to get to that point that the parents are going to say, yeah, but they don't know. They know this. They see negative. And the thing is, they let their kids on there. They don't know any better. They're not teaching their kids that this stuff could go bad. So last year, I spoke with over 5,000 students. 5,000 students. I do this workshop with students, with high school students, called Harnessing the Power of Social Media. And what I do is it's a 1-hour sort of presentation, and I talk about some of the things that they have to think about before they can move forward and harness the power of social media. And I give them ideas for how they can harness the power of social media. And the 2 biggies that I discuss with them are these. I say, it is illegal to distribute or have in your possession a naked photograph of a minor. And the second one is, whatever you post online is never private. Okay, I'm going to ask you guys to interpret that for me. Seems obvious? So who'd like to interpret it? What does that mean for a student? Yes?
They have a naked picture of themselves online.
Okay, makes sense, right? It's illegal. Okay, they don't see it that way. There's all these gray zones. They don't understand that if it's sent to them, that it's still legal. Okay, that means they're in possession of it. And they don't know that they have to report it in order to not be held accountable. Okay, because it's illegal. They don't know, they don't have the legal literacies. Okay, this is a big part of their education. They don't know this stuff. Okay, so I've had students that have had pictures, naked pictures, that were sent out of themselves. I think we can all sort of say, yep, heard about it, seen it, we've dealt with it. It's so sad. Those pictures are going to be out there forever. Unless it's got, you know, it's been caught early, but most of the time it goes like wildfire. And those poor kids are going to have their pictures out there, yes.
The kicker is when you have a parent who says boys will be boys, and then the police officer says that, ma'am, your 11-year-old doesn't own this phone, it's registered to you.
Whoa.
And you're an adult, so you're in possession of child pornography.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely, but people don't know. And we're not teaching our kids how incredibly detrimental that can be to their digital identity and what will happen to them later. So I tell the kids this, I say, imagine you Googled your grandma and you found a naked picture of her. And the kids go, ew, no, gross. And I'm like, that could be you, okay? And I say, whoa there, that could be you at 15, and your grandkids are going to find you, and there's going to be a picture of you, and they go, oh my God. And you think that it makes sense, like, duh, but some of these kids are not having these conversations. They're not. Nobody's teaching them this stuff. Nobody has said it to them. Nobody has really said anything to them. No one's taught them. So they need to have this conversation. The next one is my favorite, okay? Whatever you post online is never private. Okay, what does that mean? Come on, guys, what does it mean? Seriously, what does it mean? Yes. Yes, 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 yes. So I say to them, and I love that one, I'm like, yeah, it's not right. Yeah, I know that. And I'm like, okay, how many are on Facebook? And they're like, okay. And then I'm like, okay, how many of your privacy settings on? And then I say to them this, okay, raise your hand if this applies to you. How many friends do you have on Facebook? Friends. Okay, and they're like, and I'll be like 100, hands up. 200, hands up. They're all hands up. 300, 400, I've gone up to 1,200. And I'm like, what? You have 1,200 friends? First of all, I haven't done a study on this, but I'd be willing to put money down that if I did do a study on that, I could find a correlation between risky behaviors and having 1,200 friends on Facebook. Okay, so that's like a red sign, like boom. Okay, so right off the bat, I'm like, oh my goodness, okay? And I say to the kids, you need to do a Facebook cleanup or a social media cleanup, okay? And keep it in mind, woohoo! And keep it in mind that every friend on there, okay, can take a screenshot of your private settings. A screenshot. It's super simple. Click. Control-4. Okay, and they know how to do that. So I say to the kids, are you kidding me? So they have this false conception of privacy. That's what they have. They're the generation of privacy settings with 1,000 friends that they all know very well on their Facebook. But it's private. So we need to teach them. We need to teach them. So I tell them this, and it's really simple. It's the 3 questions that you need to ask yourself before posting. I love asking the kids, would your mother approve? And they're like, no. And I'm like, your mother wouldn't approve. Why are you posting it? Okay, you don't want anything out there that the world can't see. Would it embarrass your grandmother? That one always gets them. Because maybe mama is forgiving, but grandma ain't so forgiving. Nona is not forgiving. Could it hurt you from getting a job? And that's the kicker, and that is very hard for a 7th grader to understand. That's not something that their brain is always thinking about when they're posting. They don't have those impulse controls. Okay, but when I do this with 11th graders, I do this with CEGEPs. So, you know, in Quebec we have grade 12 and yeah. So I go and I do this with CEGEPs, with students. And when I talk about this, they're like, oh shit. Oh shit. Because they're applying to university, they're applying for jobs, and let me tell you something. What do you think the first thing their employer tomorrow is going to do? Your principal, right? What are you going to do? Oh no, they're going to Google them. Yes, because that is what we do. We Google each other. I asked you to do it, didn't I? And I asked you to say, well, what did you find? We Google each other, and they will be Googled. They will be Googled often. What are we going to find? What are we going to find? So I teach them this. I can't take credit for this. I wish I could. To be honest, I found it on Twitter. I don't even know where it originated from. But I think if she put it on Twitter, she would be very happy, or he, that I shared it. So think before you post. Is it true? How will it be helpful? Will it be helpful? Will it be inspiring? Is it necessary? Is it kind? We have to teach them this. Because I want to tell you something. If we can teach them these, if we could teach them this, if they understand that what they have to put out there has to be positive, then really we can move forward. We can begin to really harness the power of the media, of the technology, of social media. We can do that. So this is what you find when you Google me. This is a little dated. So social media, some pictures of me and people that I know. So blog posts I've written, news articles I've been part of, and now it's even more. This is from last year. They stopped doing these, so I couldn't redo it. So when people meet me, I say, Google me, be my guest. Because I am proud of my Googled name. I'm well Googled. Please Google me. I'm Tanya Avrith. You want to learn about me? Google me. Okay, that is what I say to them. And I say we need to own our online place. We need to own it. Okay, and I literally mean own it. Okay, and don't call me crazy, but this is what I've done. My children, who are 2 and 5, I own their names.com. Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Okay? Those names belong to me. So when I Google Gabriel Varga right now, there's a boxer. Dummy didn't buy his name. I got it. So my children are going to have a place online. And when people are going to want to learn more about them, they're going to say, Google me. And when they're older, they're going to own their name. And I own the .com for them. I own it. It costs me $10 a year. It's 2 lattes from Starbucks that go into building their future online. Okay? Because I know that they will be Googled. That's the world that they live in. So, what are we going to find? I love this, and so I know that Michael knows Kern Kelly as well. Okay, he's a friend of ours, and he's a fellow Google certified teacher doing amazing things out of Maine. And Kern, what they do in Kern's district is when the kids graduate from high school in 12th grade, the district purchases their names.info. And so these are Google schools. They've been early adopters. Michael, how long would you say that Kern's district's been on Google?
Maine Township was 2008.
2008, okay? So they've been on for a long time. And relatively speaking, they're early adopters. So these kids have Google sites. So when they leave, they transfer over the sites and they transfer it over so that the kids now own their content. These kids have been working since elementary school on building their digital footprints. They have really positive things attached to their names, positive things that they've created, things that they've done now, positive things that are going to be attached to their names. So they're going to graduate and they're going to have these wonderful digital footprints, and the district recognizes that. So when they graduate, they apply to college, they're going to be well Googled, and they buy it as a graduation gift. What a statement. They get it on sale. .info goes on sale twice a year for 99 cents. So they buy it, and it's their gift to the kids. Because the truth is, that modern resume will be their digital footprint. When they're going to apply for a job, when they are going to go out into the workforce, that piece of paper resume is going to mean nothing. Nothing. It is going to mean nothing. It's going to be, Google me. What are you going to find? If you are somebody that does art, if you are a musician, if you are someone that works in technology, if you don't have something attached to your name, you don't have anything. Because it doesn't mean anything if it's written on a paper. You need to be Googled. So I think I'm running out of time. Am I right? 10 minutes? Perfect. So I give you some EDUSLAM tips for you to get started as a teacher to start thinking about your digital footprints, because that's important as well. We cannot move forward with our students if we are not using the technology ourselves. Okay? It's not enough to just say it's allowed. You have to at least go on and learn about it yourself. You have to model it. You have to model the appropriate use for the kids. It is no longer okay to say that I am not connected. In this day and age, you have to be digitally literate. You need to get online to teach the kids how to use it appropriately. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to celebrate our failures. Woohoo! I don't know everything. I use my kids, I use my students to find out. We work together, and it's okay to let go and ask them. So I say to you this, to start off, here's one tip. Create a professional social media presence using your name. You want to be Googled. You want to have things attached to your name. Let it be social media that they're Googling, because I only post things on social media that I want the world to see, things that I'm proud of. I know that I'm not going to post something on there that I don't want to share. So you know what? Google me. I have nothing to hide. I'm authentic in what I put. I don't put fake things. I'm true to myself, but I have things on there. So a good place to start is Twitter. Twitter's a great network for teachers. It's wonderful, and if you want to just start, just lurk. Be a lurker. Don't even have to make an account. Just find one hashtag. I'm going to put a shout out to CDN EdChat. That's a Canadian EdChat that I started last year with a fellow Canadian educator from Montreal. And we meet every Monday at 8 p.m. It's 8 p.m. Yes, it is. On hashtag CDN EdChat. And you can just follow along. You don't even have to participate. But it's a good place to connect with other like-minded educators. When you're ready to start that professional sort of presence, having that presence, I say to you, pick a professional looking photo. I say that. Maybe other people may see it differently. That's my sort of take on it. But pick something that you're proud of sharing and stick with it. Purchase your URL with your full name eventually, once you get there. Okay? I have TanyaAvrith.com. I also have TanyaAvrith.org. Okay, so I have different ones. I kind of collect them, like I collect stickers. So I like to collect URLs. Have a blog or site that you can reflect on. Eventually, okay, this is getting further down the line. It's a great way to build your digital presence, and it's also a great place to start reflecting on your practice. And eventually, when you get to that point, think about having a YouTube channel where you're sharing work with your students eventually. It's a great place to create links and build your identity. YouTube is a wonderful place to get links out, and that's part of how we can sort of enrich where our name shows up when you search us. Look into having an about.me page. Yes? I don't use that as a, personally, I don't use that as a professional place. My Facebook is not so much where I connect with outside media. That's me. There's no right or wrong to social media. I just don't use it that way. I use Facebook more for my family and friends. But like I said, there's no, that's just personal. I don't see it as my professional spot. My professional spot for my PLN is my Twitter and my Google+. But that's just me. Other people may feel differently about it. About.me is a great place to start just if you want to have your name. And About Me is essentially a place where you can have a little resume with a picture, and if you put your name, so you would be about.me/Tanya Avrith. And then you could see, in this case it's T Avrith, I have to fix it, but you could then sort of connect all your social media of how you want to be found. And you could tell people, look for me at About Me with my name, and it's free. I'm going to stop there, okay? This will take me a little longer to continue, but I strongly urge you to have a look. And it's tips for students on how they can start getting going. So, well, you know, blogging, student portfolios, using Twitter in their classroom, creating, okay? So I'll leave you with that. I hope that you take away from this today really the importance of getting our students online, of using the media with them. Once we get comfortable enough to get to that point, we can really start harnessing its power and building our students' digital identities and getting them to be well Googled. So I want to thank you very much for coming out on a Saturday morning. I was a little nervous, I'm not going to lie, I'm still sweaty a bit, but you've been a really good audience, so woohoo! Thank you so much.